The story of Pharaoh, Firaun, of Egypt. In ancient times, along the fertile banks of the Nile River, there lived a powerful and ambitious ruler known as Pharaoh. His real name had been lost to history, and he was commonly referred to as Pharaoh, which meant great house in the ancient Egyptian language. Pharaoh was a man of great wealth, with a magnificent palace adorned with gold and jewels, and a kingdom that stretched as far as the eye could see. Pharaoh's rise to power was marked by cunning and ambition. He had seized the throne at a young age, and over the years he had consolidated his rule through shrewd diplomacy and a formidable army. However, his reign was not without controversy. Pharaoh was known for his harsh treatment of the Israelites, a minority group of people who had been living in Egypt for generations. He forced them into labor, subjecting them to grueling work in the construction of his grand monuments and temples. As Pharaoh grew older, he became consumed by his own ego. He believed himself to be a god, and the people of Egypt were required to worship him as such. He surrounded himself with sycophants and advisors who fed his ego and told him that he was invincible. One day, a man named Moses emerged from among the Israelites. Moses had been raised as an Egyptian prince, but had discovered his true heritage and chosen to stand with his oppressed people. He approached Pharaoh and demanded the release of the Israelites, warning of dire consequences if Pharaoh refused. Pharaoh, blinded by his arrogance, scoffed at Moses' demands. He refused to let the Israelites go, believing that no force on earth could challenge his authority. But Moses was not alone in his quest. He was chosen by a higher power, and with divine guidance, he brought a series of plagues upon Egypt, each more devastating than the last. The Nile River turned to blood, frogs infested the land, and locusts consumed the crops. Pharaoh's advisors implored him to release the Israelites to end the suffering, but he remained obstinate. It wasn't until the final devastating plague, the death of the firstborn sons of Egypt, that Pharaoh finally relented. He was devastated by the loss of his own son and knew he could no longer defy the will of the gods. In the dead of night, he ordered the Israelites to leave Egypt. As the Israelites departed, Pharaoh's heart was heavy with grief and regret. He had paid a heavy price for his arrogance and cruelty, losing his own flesh and blood in the process. Pharaoh's story serves as a cautionary tale of the perils of unchecked power and ego. It reminds us that no one, no matter how mighty, is above the consequences of their actions. The legacy of Pharaoh is one of both grandeur and tragedy, a reminder of the rise and fall of those who seek to dominate and oppress.